Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon back for a second video on the same day. I honestly didn't think I would. However, we have some new information coming from the game data mines that happened at the reset today at 2 p.m. There were a couple of files I think that were of interesting note. One of them is actually the details of the Alpha Flight showcase event, which also showed the NPCs that are contained within those levels. Sunfire is mentioned in there, and we're gonna go over that. We're also going to be talking about the spotlight raids. There was a specific JSON file related to that as well, which we're going to cover. Talks about the difficulties of the raids and some of the rewards that are going to be contained within. There honestly might have been a little bit more. I usually dig around a fair bit, but these are the two biggest things that kind of popped out at me. Other than that, make sure you watch the blog video because that has some quite a bit of information for next week's events. But I wanted to get this in to date because otherwise I'll forget. So if you're ready to go, everybody, let's boil this down. So it's not even just Sunfire that's mentioned in this JSON file, but it's also your buddy pal Wolverine. Now this seems to be a little bit not. I don't think it's that surprising, right? Because Wolverine has a lot of backstory to Alpha Flight in general. He's Canadian. Sunfire, if you were to do a Google on Alpha Flight on the Marvel Wiki, it actually does say that Sunfire is was a member of Alpha Flight. I don't even as a Canadian, like I haven't read all of the Alpha Flight comics, so I didn't know that. But it's right there on the wiki, and so he was a former member, and so this, I guess, makes sense then for them to do this. And I think what's most interesting, at least from the Sunfire perspective, is that, of course, that's an extra character that can be used to unlock Apocalypse. Many of those of us who already have him at gear tier 17. Wolverine, on the other hand, I don't have him that high, so I'm going to have to bring him up at least to 85, G16, maybe a little bit higher, probably, because Alpha Flight is required for the Spotlight raids, which we'll talk about, and that's something probably within a few weeks, I would imagine, because we already have Spider Society, who is the first half of the Spotlight raids, and then Alpha Flight is the second part, although, you're not going to really be able to take part until you have the full team, so I suspect at this point we're still, at least 3 weeks away when they start selling them, the other 3 characters, who is also mentioned, but I will kind of point that out here. So first of all, I just want to say again, I'm actually quite happy if that's the case, because Sunfire is an Apocalypse character. And we kind of asked this question quite a long time ago about how they were going to deal with the changes of Apocalypse. And maybe this is how, because we saw them add Leader to Cabal, which is, it's a new character that you can use for Gamma instead. It's not really a rework as such. But then they reworked Gambit, and which is interesting, 2 people on Unlimited X-Men. But anyways, that they're slowly kind of reworking some of the Apocalypse characters to make it feel less bad. So if they continue doing this, it makes it a little bit easier. It's not quite the solution I was looking for, but it doesn't feel as bad for those people who are wanting to chase Apocalypse, which will come in a separate video because I plan on talking about that related to my boosted account and what I'm going to be doing over there on that side of things, because Apocalypse is not something that I really want to do too much. But let's talk about the Spotlight raids. So inside, this was like the Spotlight compact viewer wave JSON file. They have really long names. I had to really dig around from this because it's in specific areas. But most of this is gobbledygook. So like this, a lot of this doesn't matter. But the point is that there is, I believe, down here, somewhere around here, they talk about the reward bonuses, non-repeating one of these box. This one, okay. So completion bonus, you can see right here. There's 2 difficulties, 0 and 1. 0 basically just means 1. It's always 0, and then there's 1 more difficulty. And then when you open that up, you get season points. Now this is a completion bonus at 30%, and then a 60%. So you're getting season points related to that. Sorry, that wasn't actually the difficulty. There is 2 difficulties in here, though. I think it's this, the rewards. So if I were to kind of bring it down a little bit, then you can see there's 2 difficulties here, 0 and 1. And then when you kind of, put up the rewards here, then you can see blue ISO tier 1B. I think that's blue ISO currency. And then there's going to be the crate raid epic teal gear mats. I believe is the epic orb. So the G18 orb, which you can find there. And then if I lower this down a bit more, then you can see at 60%, you're then getting crate raid crimson gear mats. I think that's just the red orb that we have right now. And then we also have GS crate gear tier 19. I think that's the armory 19 orb and quantity 200, which is not a lot, but I think this might be on the base difficulty here. And because there's reward tier bonuses here as well. Percent complete is 60, things like that. You can kind of see requires blue ISO 4. And I think this is the first difficulty. No, this is just, yeah. That might actually just be the first difficulty. I'm not sure. It could be difficulty 1. I'm pretty sure I saw there's a lot of drop downs on here, honestly. There's a lot of drop downs. But anyways, the whole point is that here's the Spotlight JSON. There is going to be some rewards. There's going to be, one, at least a difficulty that's going to include gear tier 18 and 19 rewards and red gear orbs. I think we kind of knew that. I'm not sure what the public information was on the blog related to what the gear rewards were, but there's a little bit more information now. And of course, we already knew that Alpha Flight and Spider Society was going to be the main teams that are going to be required for this. So the second thing that I want to talk about in here, though, is why that's going to be important. So if we kind of scroll up to the top, you can see here is SSE Alpha Flight Mission Details Compact Wave. This is typically the file for the showcase events. They have them for all of them, but it's listed in the game files here as well. I think this was released a little bit early. I personally did not expect them to bring this out as soon as they did, so maybe this was a mistake. But now it's public, so now I get to report on it. And so therefore, here you can find on Alpha Flight Difficulty 101, I think this is like the test drive, because, with the test drive, they give you NPC characters that you can play around with, and you get to do that. But now when you kind of scroll down a little bit, actually, this is Alpha Flight Difficulty 102. If you click on the setting, like if I were to, take this down anyways, there's 5 characters, essentially, that you have here on the settings. And then if you expand it, it says Wolverine. And so you have Wolverine at gear tier 18, level 100, all that. He has a Raider ISO. And then you expand this one, you get Sunfire. And then you have blah, 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 blah. He's Gambler. I think that's Raider, the code for that. Expand this one, you get Guardian. Same stuff. He's a skirmisher. We have Sasquatch, who is Striker, I guess, because Assassin is the code word for Striker. And then we have North Star, who is a healer. For some reason, take that for what you will. And so healer, striker, skirmisher, and 2 raiders. And that basically shows you the test drive information. There's a bunch of other nodes in here as well. You can, I'm not going to take a look at everything in here, because I think that it's difficulty 103, the same characters. It just shows that again. So it's not really that really important. Tons of different Alpha Flight difficulties, 204. Those are the different, I think those must be the different difficulties, right? It's like story or test drive story, etc., etc. And so I don't know if this shows up in every single, I'm curious actually what shows up. I don't even know, because you have to use your own characters, right? So it's not going to show characters in here necessarily. It could show enemies maybe, but at that point, I don't know. I would have to expand a lot of these, and it's not really that worth it. Alpha Flight 2 difficulty 05. And so it actually makes me wonder, normally this is accompanied 305, and then it'll go up to 4, and so these are like the paid ones, etc. Normally these files are accompanied with the dialogue text, because if there's compact wave for the Alpha Flight showcase, normally the showcase dialogue text would be around somewhere, and maybe I missed that file, because you have to kind of dig around for that a little bit, and I did not find that one. So maybe they have part of the files in here, and then part of it is not. But anyways, it appears that they're either giving us the characters in there as NPCs for some unrelated apparent reason, or Wolverine and Sunfire are getting reworked. I'll leave that up to you guys. Like I said, Sunfire, that's fine for most of us because we used an Apocalypse. Wolverine, Weapon X, right? So for those of us who may have had Weapon X on War Offense, that does leave a bit of a hole there. I don't have him built up that high, So I'm gonna have to bring up. I'm gonna wait. I would encourage everyone to wait just in case, because you never know what's gonna happen. These are all. Where's my button? Subject to change, right? But I mean, it's pretty compelling. That being said, I would still hold off anyways. Just keep that in the back of your mind that you might need to bring Wolverine up if that is the case. We do have this cool new costume, of course, that we got for free with him. So, hey, at least we have something cool to look at too, right? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. This is probably my last video for Fridays, so I can go maybe prep my dinner and all things like that. Otherwise, have a great rest of your weekend, everyone. And until next time, stay safe and healthy. I'll see y'all later. Well, I'm signing out.